Marriage. It's supposed to be the golden years. You grow old together, you share memories. But for many men, something unexpected happens. They reach a point where they feel unhappy. Maybe it's a lack of appreciation. Maybe it's the feeling of being stuck. Unhappiness in marriage isn't inevitable. Once you identify those needs, you can start to meet them. This isn't just one man's story, it's a silent epidemic. Thousands of men feel this way, but they don't always talk about it. They suffer in silence, feeling like they're the only ones going through this. This video is about giving you the tools to navigate those challenges too. It's about understanding the real reasons men grow unhappy in marriage as they age, and more importantly, what you can do about it. We're taught as men to be strong, to be the rock, but sometimes that strength turns into silence. We bottle up our emotions. We think it's for the best, that we're protecting our loved ones from our burdens. But here's the truth. Silence isn't strength. It's a slow poison. It starts small. You swallow down a frustration. You tell yourself it's not worth rocking the boat. Those unexpressed emotions, they don't just disappear. They fester and grow into resentment, anger, and a deep sense of disconnect. Every time you choose silence over vulnerability, you add another brick to that wall. You convince yourself it's for the best, that you're keeping the peace. But true peace comes from connection, from feeling heard and understood. It's time to start tearing down that wall, brick by brick. Start small. Share a worry, express a frustration, tell her about a small victory, just a crack in the wall to let the light in. Therapy isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. We imagine growing old with our partner like a dance. A slow waltz, maybe, but sometimes life throws in an unexpected step, a health scare. Suddenly, the waltz becomes a different kind of dance altogether. It's tough, especially for men. We're wired to be strong, to be the protectors. But what happens when we're the ones who need taking care of? It's a difficult shift, both for the man facing health issues and for the wife stepping into a caregiver role. The only way through it is together. Health challenges in marriage aren't about blame. They're about adaptation. It's about recognizing that roles might shift, that needs will change. And that's okay. What matters is facing those changes as a team. Communication is key. Talk about how you're feeling, both physically and emotionally. Don't be afraid to ask for help, to admit that you're struggling. Remember, you're not just husband and wife. You're friends, confidants, each other's safe space. We hear a lot about women and menopause, but men go through hormonal changes too. It's rarely talked about, but it impacts marriages in a big way. As men age, their testosterone levels naturally decline. You don't notice it at first, but eventually you realize something feels off. You're tired all the time. Maybe you're moodier or your sex drive has taken a nosedive. Low testosterone doesn't just affect you physically, it affects you emotionally too. It can lead to irritability, depression, and a lack of interest in things you used to enjoy. This can strain your marriage without you even realizing it. The good news is, it's treatable. The first step is getting your testosterone levels checked. It's a simple blood test. If your levels are low, your doctor can discuss treatment options. Don't be afraid to advocate for yourself. You deserve to feel your best, both for yourself and for your marriage. Regular exercise, especially strength training, can make a big difference. Eating a healthy diet and getting enough sleep are also crucial. But here's the most important thing. Talk to your wife. Tell her what you're going through. Open communication can bridge the gap that hormonal changes can create. Remember the vows, for better or for worse, for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health. We say the words, but sometimes life has a way of testing them. And one of the biggest tests in a long-term marriage? The division of labor. For years, many couples fell into traditional roles. The man worked outside the home, the woman managed the household. But times have changed, haven't they? More women work full-time now, and when one person feels like they're carrying more than their fair share, resentment simmers. It's not about keeping score. It's about recognizing that a happy marriage thrives on balance. The key is communication, not nagging, not complaining, but honest, open conversations about expectations. What needs to get done? How can we divide those tasks fairly? And how can we support each other, not just as roommates or co-parents, but as equal partners in this journey called marriage? If you're retired and your wife is still working, find ways to contribute, help around the house, take on errands, find a new purpose that brings value both to your life and to the partnership. And if you're both retired, even more reason to redefine those roles. Explore new interests together. Rediscover the joy of shared experiences. For years, your identity was intertwined with your role as a husband and a father. You were the provider, the protector, the fixer of leaky faucets and broken toys. And then one day, you wake up and the house is quiet. The kids are gone, building their own nests. Retirement looms large on the horizon. And suddenly you're faced with a question you haven't asked yourself in years. Who am I, now that the roles that define me for so long have begun to fade? This is the identity crisis that many men face in their later years. It's a quieter, more profound crisis of the soul. A feeling of being adrift, unmoored, unsure of where to drop anchor next. But at the core of it all is a longing for purpose. The good news is that this identity crisis, while daunting, also presents an opportunity. An opportunity to reconnect with passions you may have set aside, to explore new interests, to rediscover who you are at your core. Start by asking yourself, what brings me joy? What did I always want to do but never had the time for? Talk to your wife. Share your feelings, your fears, your aspirations. Chances are she's going through her own process of rediscovering herself as well. Support each other's journeys. Find new adventures to embark on together. Let's talk about intimacy. Not just the kind that happens between the sheets, though that's important too, but the kind that binds two souls over a lifetime. We're conditioned to believe that intimacy fades with time, that it's all about youthful passion and spontaneous combustion. But here's the truth. Real intimacy, the kind that sustains a marriage through thick and thin, is about so much more than that. It's about connection, about feeling seen, heard, and cherished by the one person who knows you better than anyone else in the world. And that connection, it doesn't have an expiration date, but it does require effort. Physical intimacy changes with age, that's true. But that doesn't mean it has to diminish. It simply means rediscovering it, exploring new ways to connect, to express love, and to keep the spark alive. Talk to each other. Share your desires, your fears, your insecurities. What feels good? What doesn't? What are you longing for? Remember, intimacy isn't just about sex, though a healthy sex life is certainly important. It's about those small, everyday gestures of affection, a lingering hug, a spontaneous back rub, a loving glance across a crowded room. These moments, these seemingly insignificant acts of touch, they speak volumes. Here's a secret about getting older. You don't stop wanting to grow. You don't stop dreaming of new adventures, of expanding your horizons, of proving to yourself that you've still got some life left in those old bones. But sometimes, somewhere along the way, life gets in the way. Responsibilities pile up, routines become comfortable cages, and those dreams, they get tucked away in the attic of your mind, gathering dust alongside old photo albums and forgotten hobbies. You tell yourself it's too late, that you're too old to start something new. Here's the good news. Personal growth and a fulfilling marriage, They're not mutually exclusive. In fact, they can complement each other beautifully, strengthening the bond you share and infusing your relationship with a renewed sense of purpose and excitement. Start by talking to each other. What are your unfulfilled dreams? What adventures have you always wanted to embark on? Encourage each other's passions. Support each other's growth. Be each other's cheerleaders, even when those dreams seem a little scary. Remember, life is a journey, not a destination. They start small, those cracks in the foundation of a marriage, a forgotten anniversary, a hurtful comment brushed aside, a disagreement about money swept under the rug. We tell ourselves it's nothing, that every couple argues, that these little bumps are just part of the road. But here's the thing about cracks, about those seemingly insignificant fissures in the foundation of a relationship. Left unattended, they don't just disappear, they fester, they deepen. And over time, they can threaten to split even the strongest bond. You stop talking about the things that bother you. You avoid certain topics, knowing they'll lead to another frustrating argument that goes nowhere. You withdraw emotionally, seeking refuge in silence rather than risking another confrontation. And here's the irony. That silence, that avoidance, it doesn't bring peace. It breeds resentment. It creates a distance that feels impossible to bridge. You're sleeping in the same bed, sharing the same space, but emotionally, you're miles apart. The good news is that it doesn't have to be this way. Just because a conflict arises doesn't mean it has to define your marriage. The key is learning how to address those cracks, those unresolved issues, before they become insurmountable chasms. It starts with communication, not the kind that devolves into accusations and blame, but the kind that seeks to understand, to find common ground, to build bridges instead of walls. Choose your battles wisely. Not every disagreement requires a winner and a loser. Sometimes it's okay to agree to disagree, to let go of the need to be right, to focus on finding a compromise that works for both of you. And if you find yourselves stuck in a cycle of conflict, don't hesitate to seek professional help. A skilled therapist can provide a safe, neutral space to unpack those unresolved issues, to learn new communication skills, and to rediscover the love and respect that brought you together in the first place. We've covered a lot of ground in this video. We've talked about the silent struggles men face in marriage as they age, the weight of unexpressed emotions, the challenges of changing health and hormones, the shifting sands of identity and intimacy. It can feel overwhelming. This realization that the marriage you thought would sail smoothly into the sunset has hit some choppy waters. But remember this, you're not alone. Thousands of men are navigating these same waters, and many have found their way back to calmer seas, to a love that feels deeper, richer, more fulfilling than ever before. The key is recognizing that unhappiness in a long-term marriage isn't a sign of failure. It's a sign that something needs to change, that the map you've been using to navigate your relationship needs a course correction. And the beautiful thing is, you have the power to make those changes. You have the power to choose happiness, to reconnect with your wife, to rediscover the love that brought you together in the first place. It starts with taking ownership of your own happiness. Not waiting for your wife to change, not blaming external circumstances, but looking inward and asking yourself, what can I do differently? What needs of mine are going unmet? And how can I communicate those needs to my partner in a way that fosters understanding and connection, not resentment and distance? It's about breaking down the walls of silence, brick by brick, sharing your feelings, both positive and negative, with vulnerability and honesty, learning to listen, truly listen, to your partner's perspective, even when it's difficult, even when it challenges your own. It's about rediscovering the joy of shared experiences, of supporting each other's dreams, of carving out time for both togetherness and individual growth. It's about remembering that marriage is a dance, a constant ebb and flow of closeness and distance, of passion and peace, of familiarity and adventure. The story of your marriage isn't over. You're not just characters fading into the background of your own lives. You're the authors. and the pen is in your hand. What will your next chapter hold?